Hey, so perfect, perfect. So Hitesh, why don't you quickly introduce yourself for the
Yeah,
bit?
yeah. Thanks, Arya. Thanks for having me. So my name is Hitesh. I am originally from India, and I'll just give a brief background about myself. I started my career in a startup. I was their first marketing executive. I joined that early stage startup, and then I did some jobs before started working at Google in India. I worked there for 15 years. That included India and Singapore. I built up a side hustle on the side. I had an e-commerce company, and now I own a consulting firm as well. So that's a very quick intro about myself.
So Hitesh, I was mentioning at the very beginning that you've been in a big corporate for a while,
Yeah.
right? So specifically, I believe about 15 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I was in corporate for 15 years, really long time. Yes.
Yeah, 15 years. For some of us, that's longer than our entire career. So, I mean, you're in corporate, which I would say, right, one of the stereotypes is that it's quite comfortable. Yeah,
Yeah.
so what made you decide to embark on this side hustle journey?
Yeah, so when you spend so much time in one company, you definitely feel the itch as well to, try something on your own. There are so many new skills that you develop along the way, and then you meet other people as well who are doing multiple hustles, and then you get inspired, and I think at least I did have a lot of ideas throughout my career. Oh, this looks like a cool idea. Maybe someday I'm gonna try something like that, and then eventually I decided, you know what, I need to start something on the side. And it can be just anything really small. So, but something that I'm passionate about. And that is how I did keep pushing it for a while. And like, maybe I will do it now, maybe I'll do it next quarter. But then eventually just jumped into it. So essentially, it was an area that I was passionate about. I really wanted to do something. And then I just got started at a very small scale to just as a side hobby to say. And that is how slowly, step by step, one step at a time, it kept growing over the years.
Okay, so you mentioned the side hustle. Tell
Yeah,
us a little bit more about what it is specifically. What type of business is that?
yeah. So the side hustle that I started was an e-commerce company. It's pure play e-commerce. It's merchandise, and when I originally started, it was for pets, people who have dogs and cats, and then I was in Singapore, but the business is registered and operated out of India, so I was managing everything remotely. And then I made some pivots, and the current stage is that we are, uh, selling products for people like your T-shirts, your merchandise, your home decor, and things like these. But all designs and everything, all patterns that you see are pet related. So you have dogs, you have cats, you have cute animals. So anybody who loves pets or is passionate about pets or animals, it's for them. But it's merchandise and home decor.
Got it. So, something I'm thinking about, and I'm sure that, some of the people in the call may be wondering is how did you come up with the idea, actually, of
Yeah,
this business specifically?
yeah. So I've always been passionate about pets. I something like so so for a business there are two things. One is area that you're passionate about, that gives you excitement and something that you would like to do, and the second part is it should make business sense. So when you find something where there is a combination of this, that is when you know that okay, this is where I could spend my energy into. And especially when you are in a corporate job and you have a full-time role, you really want to do something that gives takes you away from the monotony of the job and the work that you have been doing over the years. And then you would like to explore, and it becomes like a relaxing kind of an activity as well. So I was always passionate about pets. I always loved pets. So I wanted to do something in that space. And found there is a really passionate group of people who, who love pets and who like to buy products for their pets. And that is how it all originally started. So the ideation came from an industry where you know that people are passionate. The you know I am passionate about pets, so something that would like keep me excited in my research and trying to find out what is working and what is not working. And then of course there has to be a business sense, so there was business sense. So that is how I came up with the niche, and that was the starting point.
Got it. Very interesting. Just a reminder for the people who joined us, if you have any questions, feel free to ask or join the Slido to ask questions. We'll cover those at the end of the chat with Hitesh. So Hitesh, let's get right into, I would say, the spicy questions. So
Yes.
juggling the full-time job with a startup, right, a side hustle sounds super duper challenging. So how did you manage time between the
Hmm.
two?
Yeah.
Right? So how do you juggle those two?
Yeah. Again, you're absolutely right. It is extremely hard when you have a full-time role and then you're working in a job where you have probably late night meetings, you have responsibilities to take care of. To take care of a startup is going to be hard. So there is absolutely no denying that it's you are going to be pressed. So that's why it's really important that you start with something that you're passionate about, so that it doesn't add too much pressure on you. And and that is where you start to look at, okay, this is an area, this is an industry which I love. There is, I identify a problem, or there is an opportunity that I can see, and I can invest my time into it. And so you start to take out little bit time every single day. And in the early stages of your startup, or like when you are planning a side hustle, it is not the number of hours that you spend like in a day, it's about consistency. It's a lot is about consistency, a lot is about your mental wake up. So are you able to take out 30 minutes a day, and that 30 minutes is dedicated to what you are really passionate about and what you really want to build, and being really disciplined about those 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever that may be for you, that has to be sacrosanct. That has to be very clear. It could be an MRT ride back home as well. You're coming, your travel time to office and home is 30-40 minutes. That is your time to do your research. You can do it on your phone. You can pick up a late night slot or an early morning slot, whatever works for you, but discipline yourself. And that little bit of 30 minutes really add up exponentially over the months, over the quarters, where you have made considerable progress in what you are planning to do. And there are going to be ups and downs. There will be certain days where you are definitely not able to squeeze out those 30 minutes, and that's okay. You don't have to be too hard on yourself, but you need to find out what is that time slot that you will dedicate to an idea that you're passionate about. So I think that is a really key factor.
So what strategies did you use to then stay committed, right, to these, say, 30 minutes a day?
Hmm.
So yeah, what worked out for you?
Yeah, I have burnt the midnight oil. For me, I had my work schedule was quite busy as well. I was working across time zones, but I did have time slots in between where I would dedicate it. So it would be like post dinner where I'm gonna sit for an hour and I'm gonna do my research or whatever progress I'm trying to make. I'm gonna do that. So for me, it was like whole day was office. There would be some meetings in the evening and some would be like super late night. But then post dinner time slot worked very well for me, and I would keep that. And then on weekends, I would probably stretch more. So I'll probably pull out a Saturday, between a Saturday and a Sunday, I'll decide a day and I'll stretch myself that whole day and try to cover up bulk of the things that I would like to do. So that is how I planned my own journey.
So, okay, let's talk about the next step. So let's say that you manage to stay committed to your
Yeah,
passion, to your idea, commit enough time every day, every week, every quarter. Now this is gonna take a toll on you. So
yeah,
how do you make sure that you don't burn out?
yeah. I think. That's a good question. Burnout does happen. I mean, it happens in your regular work as well. So it is very important that you take care of your well-being. So you don't have to really, that's why you don't go all in with your idea. You take baby steps. You take small measurable goals. You really decide according to your own pace. Everybody's situation is different. Some people can devote more time, some people can devote less time. So really you need to sit on a weekend, plan for the next week, that this is small task that I want to accomplish the next week, and then take out that time to do it, so you don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. You don't put yourself in situations where you're putting a lot of financial investment or like something that is beyond your capability at that stage. So when you don't put pressure on yourself, it still remains fun, it still remains something cool you are trying to do on the side. And my favorite analogy, when I was starting up and when I was feeling, there is so much to do and so much you want to do, is I took it as a hobby. You know, people go, somebody wants to learn tennis, they will take out some time and play tennis, and that would be, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes a day maybe. You want to go swim, you want to do something, or running outside, going for a walk, whatever hobby that you're trying to follow, you will take out some time for it and you will do it, but you wouldn't take unnecessary pressure on yourself. You're not trying to win the Wimbledon there, right? You're trying to play a game, you want to enjoy yourself. And that is exactly the mindset you should have when you are trying an idea. It's a hobby, it's something that you want to do on the side, it gives you happiness. So why are you taking pressure on yourself? Like, why are you trying to be the next Mark Zuckerberg right away? You just do it for the fun of it, to build something that you like, something area that you're passionate about. And then, of course, you are definitely planning your revenue journey along the way. I'm not saying it should not be, it should be, but there is no pressure. You shouldn't take that pressure on you. And as long as you can keep that kind of a mindset, it still remains fun, it still remains joy. And then you can slowly start, finding your MVP and stuff like that.
Thank you, Hitesh. I think that's very good advice. To put it, I would say even more in perspective, how long did it take you to see, to see some profit, from day
Yeah.
one to?
Yeah. No, so I actually worked on an idea of a product line. I'll share more details as well. I worked on a product line for a couple of years, and then I realized that no, there is a problem, and I need to pivot. So I had to start all over again after 3 years. But I had already had enough learnings that I didn't have to do everything ground up. So let me share what it was. So when I originally started, I was importing pet products from China to India. I was having them white labeled and then being sold under my brand. And I was using, over time, I started using Amazon, I was using my own website, I was using my own advertising channels, and everything was working fine, except that a lot of times when people order pet products, there is high refund because
Mhm.
people don't necessarily know their pet size when they're ordering online. So some may have a smaller dog, may order a bigger product, some may have a bigger dog, may order something that doesn't fit, or like for any other pet as well. So there was a refund problem. So the way I broke down this structure was, one, I can see that people love the products, so that is good. The market fit is there. People are buying it, people are spending money on it, so my designs and everything is good. The only problem is the refund part, but not the entire idea. The industry is fine, the idea is fine, the products are okay, but I have to solve for the refund, and that was really costing me a lot. Every return product is kills your profit for the next few sales as well. So I had to solve for that. So I kept the theme of my business the same, which is pet theme. I just changed from pet products to people products. So people, you wouldn't normally know your size, your M, L, XL. You would home decor, you don't need much sizes, but invariably people order the right size for themselves because they are used to purchasing products for themselves, and they know themselves pretty well. And so I just did that. So after 3 years, I again started, but I changed the product line. And after I changed it, I solved that refund problem. So there was a uh, so it isn't a smooth ride. So it took like 3 years with idea one, but I had already covered in the first 3 years. I had covered a lot of basics. Everything was infrastructure wise. I was already set. I had whatever mistakes I had to make. I had already made. I had got my advertising and analytics, and everything all was set. So I changed the product line, and from there it started picking up. So I would say it took me around 5 years to get to that stage. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. So I see quite there is quite a few questions actually coming up. So thank you guys for that. Very interesting questions. So I see a couple are very relevant to what you're sharing, Hitesh. So in for you to start this business, right?
Mm,
If you don't mind sharing, how much were the upfront costs and
mm,
the capital you invested?
yeah. I In the beginning when I was importing products, yes, I did spend some money which could have avoided. And then eventually I realized that there are always free options available to do anything that you want. So my upfront cost at that time was purchasing the inventory, which was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it, and that was my learning. But otherwise, I tried to use everything that was free or like the cheapest possible options available. If I wanted to build a website, I built it myself, and I learned how to do it, and I built it, and it was just a ready-made platform which charges you few dollars subscription fee every month. Analytics is free, then your social media is free. And so, I tried to use as much as free stuff as I could until I saw that people are actually buying products from me. And once I started seeing that, is when I'm like, okay, now if I'm able to sell five a month, how do I make it 10? And then for 10, maybe I need to put more social media, more posts going on, or proactively reaching out or commenting on social media and trying to, bring awareness about my brand. Once it reached 10, now how do I go from 10 to 20? And then I started putting some, $5 a day kind of a budget in advertising. I tried on Insta, I tried on Facebook, I tried on Google, just a tiny bit to see whether I that generates some more sales or not. And then that is also a learning curve on what type of messaging is working and what is not working. So I did that for a few months, very small, $5, $10 a day to advertise. And when some of the advertising started working, where I could definitely attribute in my analytics that this sale happened because of my ads, then I started scaling, like, $10 little more, $10 little more, and then that is how I got. So in the beginning, if you leave that inventory part where I invested and which was a learning for me, I really hardly, like, you know a few $100s a month, I would say, max, when I started.
It sounds like Hitesh for you, the key has really been going slowly but steadily, validating everything you do and iterate accordingly.
Absolutely. And I think as founders, when you have an idea, you're so passionate about it and you see a problem, you want to solve it, you see the industry, and then you get really excited, and which is fair. If you have an idea, you're gonna be excited about it. You will think that you will conquer the market, but keep your timelines realistic. Don't Either you're going all in, then that is a different issue. If you have funding, then that is a different issue. But if you are bootstrapping it and if you're taking it as a side hustle, then take it as a hobby first. Go really slow. Don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. Step by step, let data tell you that it is working, and once you have that, that's when you know, okay, you can scale step by step. So absolutely agree. that yeah, you shouldn't like go all in and just go slow, target a small market, get the joy of making first few sales, little bit revenue. That itself is a lot of happiness when you're trying to build something on the side. So enjoy those that part of the journey as well.
Nice. Another question I see is because you mentioned scaling, Hitesh.
Hmm.
So, how quick or how long did it take for you to get your first sale? And after that, how did scale look like?
Yeah, yeah. So for the first one, I tried to go with Amazon because I listed my products on Amazon before anything else. The reason why I did that is because Amazon already has customers. People trust the platform and people trust that, oh, okay, somebody will deliver the product on time. If there is any issue, the Amazon folks will come take it back. So I use their FBA service, which is like you store the products in Amazon warehouse and then they ship it for you and then they manage all the back and forth. So which meant that I didn't have to hire anybody. All I had to make sure is that my products reach Amazon warehouse. And from there, the sales are going. At that time, my idea was not to make profit, or it was just to see whether people are buying or not. And how can I, what is the cheapest way of doing it? And at that time, that was the cheapest way for me. One, because I'm marketing it in India and I'm sitting in Singapore. So, and I'm still learning how to manage operations remotely. So in the beginning, I would like to keep it as lightweight as possible. And so that is how I went about it. Once products started selling on Amazon, when I knew that, okay, people are buying it, now it's about building trust. So then you have your own website, then you have your social media. And that's how I started. So for me, in the beginning, the cost was only for Amazon, whatever service charge they take, and whatever money it took me to ship the products from to their warehouse and their fee. That's it.
I see Timothy is, I think he has some e-commerce knowledge, and he's mentioning that apparently Amazon affiliate cut is quite high, which eats into margin. I'm
Yeah,
just thinking, probably at that point in time, margins were not as relevant to you, right?
yeah. I don't sell on Amazon anymore because I've crossed that stage. My idea of Amazon was two things. One is to see whether there is a product market fit. Do people really buy my products? And two, how, because I'm starting up, I'm doing it for the first time and I have a full-time job. I really wanted to reduce my overheads, so I'm not spending hours and hours on trying to interact with the customer, trying to make sure the shipping has gone through, the product has been delivered. Like I really didn't have the bandwidth to do all that, and this was the cheapest option available without hiring anybody at all and just testing it out. And so I did that. And I did that for around a year.
Got it. But I think that answers it, Tim. In terms of, I mean, definitely something I can imagine could be challenging, right? Maybe not so much in the e-commerce space, but you're working full time. So how do you go about growing your customer base?
Hmm. So I think growing your customer base, you think about once you have identified that your product market fit is fine, right? I mean, to make a business successful, you need to understand that there is a paying customer. Once you have identified that, yes, there is a paying customer, and that is when you think about, okay, how do I now start increasing my customer base and who will also keep paying, and then you will increase your revenue along the way. There are a couple of ways of doing it. You have a lot of freelancers these days. There's a lot of freelance services that you can use. And I think taking help from freelancers is a great strategy so that you can focus on the right things. So, as a founder, if you're building, say, a tech solution, you want all your energy and effort to be in building the product. You can't really do everything by yourself as a side hustle. So that is when you know that okay, there are customers, then you find the right freelancer who would either go on social, or on your LinkedIn, or add some thought leadership articles, or whatever it may be that attracts your next set of customers. You hire them and let them build that for you. So it totally depends on what product you are building and what your own skill sets are. But once you have identified product market fit, getting a freelancer is the next logical step. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. I want to go quickly back to the financial aspect
Hmm.
of starting a business
Hmm.
or a side hustle like yours.
Yeah.
I mean, we said that you started slowly but steadily with investment.
Yeah.
Now, how did you go about managing, let's say, those expenditures
Hmm.
while making sure that you have a steady income, right? Like, did you have a budget in mind? Like,
Hmm.
any practical tip you can share?
Yeah. So I took it as I started like, okay, what is a what is a hobby budget that you have when you hire a coach, right, to learn tennis or learn swimming,
By the way,
right? Yeah.
Hitesh, we can literally hear your passion for pets and dogs in the background.
Yeah, you can hear the dogs, right? Yeah. So yeah, it is what you are comfortable with, honestly, Andrea. Everybody has a different pocket and everybody has a different risk-taking ability. You have to see what are you comfortable with. It doesn't have to go in thousands of dollars. I don't think so. But it also depends on the idea that you're trying to develop. So it will be hard to give a blanket answer in saying that, you know what, set aside this percentage of your salary or like savings to build that idea. The thing is, whatever you're comfortable spending, learning something new. I mean, you take up a course on Coursera, you take up some education course, you take up a hobby, you do anything else. What are you comfortable spending? Use that as a threshold, something that even if you lose, and something that is sustainable, and then even if it's not making revenue right up front, you are okay. You don't feel really drained out or put unnecessary pressure on yourself. And with now everything online and so many free options, I think there are a lot more things that you can do now that you could do when I started. When I started, uh, anything, any specialized service, whether it is designing part, or whether it is like product development part, you needed to hire people, or you needed to take a service which was a paid service, so you will take a yearly subscription and stuff like that. But now you have cheaper options, you have free options. There's so much workaround that you can have. And I think so. Just take a very comfortable budget that is sustainable for you and try to limit yourself in that space. It is not about how much revenue you make in the beginning. It is about, are you able to make some revenue at all? Like that is the starting point.
Yes, I think that's very important. I really like what you mentioned, that it's truly about considering your side hustle and whatever you're putting into it as an investment into learning. I think that when you look at it this way, it really helps, with the idea of, let's say, being consistent at it. So I
Yeah.
think that
It, it,
that's great.
Yeah, and just to add, like it doesn't only help with the side hustle. The learning goes back to your work as well. I mean, now you now you are positioning yourself as a customer, right? Or you are managing a business. So if you are say in sales, or if you are say in advertising or media, where you have client interaction and the client gets upset for a very small thing, and then when you are in a corporate, you'll be like, the client is getting upset over such a small thing. It doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. But when you run a side hustle with a very small budget, with very limited time, these small things, you can see how much it impacts you. So you also put yourself in your customers' shoes to understand why your customers are getting frustrated. So it adds to your overall learning and understanding of the ecosystem, which is incredible.
Got it. Um, Something also I'm wondering about Hitesh is, you're definitely when you started a side hustle, you're putting the money, the time, right? We have finite resources, so if you're putting those in the side hustle, probably you're taking them away from something else. So
Mm.
how important do you think it is to have a support system when venturing into entrepreneurship? When I say support system, I'm thinking, family, friends, anything else.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question, and yeah, it's very important. My wife had full support because again, see, I go to office, come back home, and I'm working. If I'm not, spending time with family, it's it's hard. It's not easy, right? But so you need everyone's family structure is different, but you need whoever your partner is, whoever the people you live with, to have their support. It really takes a lot of pressure off you so that you can focus. And then there were times where I would also like to sit and relax and uh, spend some casual time together, but you want to put 30 minutes to 1 hour every single day, and you really want to do it, and because you're looking at a long-term vision that one day it will really prove worth the time investment and the effort. So yeah, having that, I had support of my wife, my family, my parents, so they understood that this is something I'm passionate about and I want to build. And so having that is, I think it's critical. That's why you should do something that you love, and something that you're passionate about, and not any idea that somebody throws at you. Yeah.
That's right. And Darren is reminding all of us that as part of the support system, you have Topline Asia, obviously. So
Yeah.
that supports. Awesome, awesome. And so, Hitesh, in terms of on the back of these questions, right? Would you say that there is, now that you have experience, would you say
Yeah.
that there is any misconceptions about starting a side hustle that
Mm.
that you could help us clear up?
Yeah. I think some of the misconceptions is that, like I said, like that you have to spend hours and hours every day and sacrifice your entire life to build something. No, that is not true. Some people really go hard. I mean, that's their choice and willingness. But you can do it as a fun activity on the side as well. It doesn't have to be stressful. We make it stressful ourselves. Uh, you know, I mean, there would be stressful situations. Things will go wrong, but that happens in anything that you do. There will be ups and downs. But there are a lot of things that are in your control. And then if you keep it limited, keep it controlled, staying consistent, I think you really don't have to sacrifice every single night and not having any time at all. While I was building my startup, I also took holidays. I also had friends. I also went out on special days. I did all that. So everything is possible. Second, this conception that I can think of is when you work in a corporate, when you're working, you're having a job, the people that you interact with and the resources that you have are very different than when you're trying to build on your own. You would be surprised that you would probably want a task done from somebody, say a freelancer. What you have communicated versus what has been delivered may be totally different, and then you'll be like scratching your head like, this is not what I wanted, but this is what I got. So the realities of running a startup is very different. People are different outside, and you have to mold yourself to get the job done. And in a job, everybody has a certain benchmark, certain threshold, but that is not true when you're working with people outside. So, you have to mold yourself, others will not mold for you. And third, I would say that no, it doesn't have to necessarily, you don't have to break your bank to build a startup. You don't have to like put all your life savings away to build something. You can still build a small boutique startup doing well before you really jump into it full time.
Awesome. I have one last question before we open it up to the audience, and we
Yeah,
still have a few questions actually already
nice.
from the participants. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start a side hustle but is afraid of failing at it?
Yeah, yeah. So success and failure is something that you can't really control every aspect of it. Sometimes you do everything right and still things can go down south. It could be a matter of timing, it could be location, it could be competition, it could be anything. The way I would like to approach it, that the fear has to have some starting point, right? Is it fear of losing money? Is it fear of, wasting your time? Or is it something else? So you need to first really understand where that fear is coming from. If it is about losing money, then don't invest that much money up front. You know, keep it very reasonable. Do something really small. Just build it up first. Uh, if it is about time, if time is a crunch and you really don't have time, then figure out smarter ways of doing things. Then you get a freelancer to do bunch of the executional tasks for you, and then get the job done. And then don't get too much hung up on that. Like take that work, build something. So first thing would be to really understand what is causing that fear. uh, or is it your ambition? Sometimes we get over ambitious. We want to conquer, we want everything built up in like 6 months and like ready to launch, ready to go. Then don't do that. Like stretch your timeline. It took me so many years to build it. I never put any timeline in my head to say, oh, by this month I need to be there. What I really wanted, when I started, it was purely for the love of pets that I have, and I saw that there is an industry, something I would like to try. And then it was quarter on quarter, my only goal was like, okay, last quarter I achieved this much, these many sales, this happened, these are the problems I solved. Next quarter I want to increase the sale by X percentage more. How can I do it? Like, very measurable small goals. And it kept going well, where I started to think, okay, now I'm having a baseline sales irrespective, because I have reached a certain stage. So now I should really seriously think where I can further optimize, whom I can hire, whom I don't need to hire. And that is when I started putting more head into it. But until then, it was all fun, doing better every quarter than the previous quarter.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hitesh. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a few questions
Hmm?
from the audience that I would like to tackle. So I see the first one is, hey Tesh, in your opinion, what are your personal prompts to identify passion or personal motive? Basically, how do you find the passion so that you can
Hmm.
build a business around it?
Okay. Yeah. It's there's no straightforward answer to this. I think for me, so I when I started my career, I started in a startup. I've been involved with startups. I've had friends who have their own companies. So I've always been in and around that ecosystem, and something I really was passionate at as well. Like, okay, I really want to build something on the side. And so that desire was there to build something. It was not forced upon me, and I was very happy with my job as well. So it was all about like, oh, what do I want to do on the side? And I have the love for pets. I really enjoyed it, and I could see that pet industry itself is a very unorganized market. There is, I mean, for my own dog, like I would like to buy, cool fancy stuff, and I could see that, oh, okay, but I couldn't find a single brand that I would remember top of my head. So I was like, okay, I was in India when I originally piloted a very small version of this, and I was like, okay, if I were to really think of a brand, I can think of clothing, I can think of cars, I can think of any other, you know, product that we may all use. But when it came to like a say a pet related product other than food, there was no brand that could come to my head that which covered every aspect of it. And I'm like, oh, there is a gap there. I can build my own small little brand in this space. So I there was a passion for pets. I couldn't identify any single brand or maybe very few brands that existed back then. And then I being is having pets throughout my life as well. I knew that how passionate people are who have pets. They want the best of the things, so that there is a loyalty aspect also there, and if you do a good job, the customer will stay with you. So so all these things mashed, and that is where I identified, yeah, this is something I would enjoy. It would be fun, side little thing to do. And that's how I joined my passion, understood that there is a market and the industry seems exciting and growing and it's very unorganized. So, it's the right place to jump in.
Perfect. Another question is basically about how do you get to a spot where your business is self-sustaining? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think revenue solves most of the problems. So, I would always encourage, like, even if you have a small idea that you have to test, you should, there is a small thought you should always have is how are you going to make money? If you don't, you can't solve for money later in the journey. You really have to plan your revenue model, or at least have an idea of your revenue model while you are building your idea. So, it's all about that. And once you start building your revenue, then you are optimizing for the product that you are selling, and you are also optimizing for how do you make little more revenue quarter on quarter. And then eventually you will reach a stage where you will find a perfect market fit GTM for yourself, that, oh, this strategy works well. Me either advertising here works really well, or me contacting this industry chamber group of people really works well, or being part of Top Line Asia really helps me. So it could be any GTM for you. But then once you start building your revenue and customer base slowly, it will automatically become clear to you where your efforts are yielding most profit. And that is when okay, you have found your sweet spot. This is where you need to invest and you need to double down on that. But in the beginning, you will try everything, obviously, like little by little in every direction to see.
Of course. We have one last question, which is about how did you validate your side business? Basically, how, and I guess on top of that, how did
Hmm.
you do competitor research, if you did
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, I did invest a lot of time and effort into it, honestly. I I had a basic idea. I looked around. I could find opportunities, and I just wanted to do something small. I didn't really go into checking every competitor at what prices and what they are trying to sell and how they are marketing. None of this I did. I didn't even have time and bandwidth to do that. And I didn't want to hire somebody to do that for me. It was a pure play. I could identify there is a gap, there is something that I would like to solve for, something that gives me happiness, and I want to test it in a very small market and just see if I can even manage some sale. If in few months' time nobody is buying anything from me, competitor analysis doesn't mean anything, right? So believe in your own idea first, test it out in your own market, find your own audience, get that. Once you are investing, you're getting a little more serious, and when you're consistent with your effort, consistent with your time spent and the amount of money you are spending, that is when you start looking at, okay, how do I further optimize? And in the beginning, you can see what others are doing, try to copy some of their strategies or build your own, and that is when you start. But I never did that before starting. I started really small, so that would be my advice. Yes, different people have different strategies. Some people really do in-depth competitor analysis, product analysis before even they, you know, dip their fingers into it. Um, I think the other way around.
Perfect. So that was the last question we had. We went a little bit over time, but this session was packed with learnings. Thank you so much, Hitesh. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience did as well. So thank you again for being willing to share your expertise. Thank you everyone for joining, and stay tuned for more events. So see you next time, and you have a good evening. Take
Thank you,
care.
thank you, thank you for having me. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.